Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Gathering Place. I'm Tom Ray, and we're so glad you could join us once again for another episode. Hey, we encourage you to invite others to be a part of this discussion. Um, Tell them to tune in, and we'd like to hear from you, your comments and feedback as we plow through on this snowy Sunday. I'd like to introduce to you our hosts. Ben and Talora Bookie is in the house. And we're all glad to be a part of what God is going to do through this episode of The Gathering Place. So, Ben, take it away.
Forgot I muted myself because, of course, the dog is back there barking. So we want to talk a little bit kind of piggybacking on what we had discussed last week, but really we talked about gratitude. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. We had a really good response to that episode. And, but it is the holiday season, and I don't know that we could ever talk enough about all the different aspects of this, but we're talking tonight just about how to be well for the holidays during all of this time, because we are just typically stressed during this time of year. A lot of things are going on. I mean, it's getting darker. Those of us in Michigan, it's snowing, which I'm excited about. So,
Loma gets a lot of snow, though, I think. Don't you guys get a lot of snow?
Well, we got some today, so I don't know. I've not lived through a winter here yet, but we're about to. Huh?
Tom's going to find all about the lake effect snow this year.
Yes.
And so we have a lot of holidays still coming up, a lot of things to do, and so how do we not only just maintain whatever wellness we have now, but just be really intentional in doing things that will let us be well, and in all the areas, right? I mean, people really don't overeat, right? Good, but also, we're not just physical beings. We have the spiritual, we have, our mental, emotional, we have all of these pieces of us that really God has, made interconnected, but we separate them out for our own understanding. And how do we make sure all of those areas are well? And so one of the things I really wanted to just start out with was that not falling into that trap of, well, I tried this, fill in the blank with whatever, and it didn't work. And, I was joking with Tom, before we got on, and said, I ate a salad for lunch. Like, why don't I feel well? Well, because you had 3 Snickers for dinner. Right?
Protein, peanut butter, got dairy in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
See?
But we tend to do that in all these areas, right? Like, spiritually. Well, I went to church. Great. Have you been in God's word every day? Have you been praying? And we can't just do this one piece and expect that we will be well. And even for our mental wellness, like I talk to people a lot of times, and they're like, well, I tried journaling, I tried this, I tried that, and it didn't work. Well, it's because it's a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do all of the things, and not in a way that overwhelms or overburdens us with doing the things, but the things that work for us, we have to do all of those things. And so just kind of putting that out there and just as something to think about, but also not letting go during this month and next month and even into January, not letting go of those things that work well and keep us well, because we're stressed, we're busy, and those things that are so important, like being in God's word and praying and socializing, as we would normally do, we just kind of let those go.
I got a question for Tom. Now that you are a full-time pastor, what about you? What are you going to do this year?
Do for what?
No, just the wellness and taking care of yourself. You're the worship leader, you're the pastor, you're the, you're doing I've seen all your cute little videos that you're doing, so you're like threefold there. But how are
Yeah.
you going to care for you?
Yes, that's a good question. So, for me, I've almost for years, I've kind of been writing at a certain level for a long, long time. When I was at a few churches ago, I was ministering 4 services every Sunday, and I did that for 20 years. So this is a piece of cake compared to, but yes, it's still a lot, right? And so there's ebbs and flows, right? There's moments of intense time of working, and other times of taking it easy and taking a break and shutting down and unplugging from other things. My wife and I just went out on Thursday. We had a date night, and so we unplugged from everything and just got out to be together. Um, uh, so then with being a pastor, sometimes the phone rings, and
That's what I
so
was just going to ask you.
yeah, absolutely. And so we're ministering to people or handling things, not only from the people that we pastor, but the people that are close to us or our family. Also reaching out too. So it's kind of it's learning our pace, our cadence, and we're still kind of in that mode right now, getting settled. Our church is a smaller congregation, but we are growing. And when I say that, I mean that there's a lot of things that the pastor will and his wife will do to maintain the ship, if you will, to get us up to a certain point where then we can pass off and delegate. So for today, for instance, well, let me back up. Last night, we had altar ministry training. All right. I don't know how many churches actually have an altar ministry training, but I did it for the standpoint of being able to activate our people so that I wouldn't have to be praying for everybody that comes up in the altar, which typically is the case for a pastor or even a visiting evangelist. They'll be praying over every single person that comes up. But I wanted to empower our people to pray for people when they come up with needs, and so that was tried today. So I was a worship leader today. We had a special guest speaker, and so I just did the worship aspect of the service today. And there's other components of the service. Who takes up the offering, who closes our service, who does the worship, who does the speaking, and so we're delegating all those things so that this can be a team ministry. And so that's where we're navigating to, and we're seeing that happen for us right now. We've got folks being empowered to be greeters, those working the tech, and all those things. So there's I'm still doing a little bit more than I probably would normally do as a pastor, but just getting things ramped up. And so that's basically it in a nutshell right now. Because my first ministry is to my wife, and then it goes to the church, right? And so that's where it goes from my point of view.
Yeah, and it's a lot of hats too. But once you get people in place, you'll be able to step back and say, okay, let's see it. Let's see what God's doing and how God's going to use you. So
and I'm being careful not to stick my foot into something or start something new without people on board to carry the torch. I don't want another thing to do, but it's important to me that we do have these different resources or ministries available so that we can be a whole church. And when I say that, I mean ministering to the needs of our people, from children's ministry, youth ministry, and senior ministry, and so forth. We want to be able to minister to the whole body, but it has to be done in a healthy manner where we're able to have the resources and the people on tap to do that. So we also did security training yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, empowering people to work in that particular department. So this is, I mean, it's almost as if we're experiencing a church plant, and doing a startup church where we're just developing as we go along. And we're seeing growth happen. We're seeing people excited. I think one of the reasons they are excited is because they're activated and they're being used. They're not just coming to church. They're a part of the plan that God is doing. And so that is my goal, to continue to move forward with that team ministry concept, that it's we're all in this together, and want to see what God does. And then a part of that is taking the Sabbath, that rest,
Yes.
along that period of time, and allowing God to minister and pour into me and my wife as well. And so, especially looking forward, we're talking about holidays, looking forward to being with family next weekend, right? As we move into Thanksgiving. And so, looking forward to go out and spend time with them, which has been one of the harder things being over here in Coloma on the west side of the state, is that we've been away from our family and close friends. But thank you, Jesus, that we've been connecting with all these folks over here, and they've been wonderful and inviting. I've already been out with 5 pastors in this area, and gleaning from their wisdom on what they're doing and how they're doing ministry over here. And so we're in a healthy place, spiritually and physically. We're in a healthy situation, and I really thank God for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I think too, as a leader and as a pastor, you do neglect. There's something that kind of falls by the wayside if you're not being intentional. And it sounds like, even with you, Tom, you've been intentional. You even spending time with Gina, and taking her out. And you guys are doing ministry together, so it's not like, she's like at the house,
But I think that piece about knowing the priorities, mm-hmm. and sticking to the priorities is so important. And, just in that broader discussion about wellness, are we prioritizing what actually is a priority? Are we being intentional with our priorities? And, because we're just kind of getting started in the season. Maybe some people don't know what their priorities are, or even how to figure that out. So maybe, I'm sure we all have some ideas about that. So whoever wants to take that away.
Say it again. Oh, sorry.
Priorities are so important. There needs to be a, looking at what's important. So in my book, A Married Man's Handbook, I wrote in there that no man lie on his deathbed and say, man, I wish I would have worked more. And the truth is, I wish I would have spent more time with my family, and connected with them, and to some of the relationships that are close to us that we often neglect because we're doing the work of ministry, or, whatever we want to brand, taking time away from other things, and say, it's the call of God or whatever. And taking time away from our family and things of that nature. There's ebbs and flows, as I said a moment ago. There's times where, the pipe is burst and we've got to work on this. We've got to get the ox out of the ditch, so to speak. but that shouldn't be the norm. There should be a pace where there's time for family, there's time for me to work on me. I heard it preached even today, and you know this analogy of being on a plane, right? And they tell you, if something goes crazy in the airplane, the oxygen mask will drop. Make sure you put yours on first before you assist another. And so it's important to take care of me, not be focused on me, obviously, but to take care of me so that I will be healthy to help others. One other thing, if I can add this, is one other thing that's brought up today, it's really important, is that hurt people, and helped people or healthy people can help people. If you're hurt, you can't help. No. But if you're healthy, you can.
And I think too, like, I know for us, Ben and I have poured a lot into like the counseling ministry. And when we first started, Ben was working full-time at the prison as a mental health therapist. Then he was working in the evenings, on the weekends at the prison or at the private practice. Then I'm working with a public guardianship, and I was also working basically full time in addition to that. So we were like exhausting ourselves, and it was getting to the point where we were like hitting the wall because we didn't prioritize. You miss that piece. Even, I think about how Jesus demonstrated it throughout the four gospels. He talks about, like getting away, getting rest, separating himself from people, going to the Father. I mean, the Garden of Gethsemane, he's there connecting with God. And so we begin to lose sight. Ministry isn't meant to exhaust. And I like the saying, and I can't remember who said it, but you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you are exhausting yourself and not prioritizing rest, spiritual rest, just being in the presence of God, being in his word, spending time with your spouse, right? I always think of it as a triangle. Like the top of it points up to God because he's number one, then the husband and wife, and then everything else begins to trickle down. I mean, if you have small children, they're going to be the next line, right? But my big boys don't need me anymore. So I just think that there comes a place where you have to say, okay, is this healthy? Is this really what God's calling me to do? Because just because it's available doesn't mean that's what God's calling you to. You can fill in the space, right? Yeah. Whenever you want to, like the stuffing, but it doesn't mean that stuffing's what you need to focus on. Maybe it's on the drywall, because I was thinking of my walls. There's not stuffing in them, there's insulation. But you know what I mean? Like, what does he want you to do? Are you the elbow? Are you the finger? Are you, because ministry's ministry, right? But don't be doing things that are exhausting you, and you can feel that mental burnout. I don't know if that all makes sense, but
I was reading this verse earlier, Mark 6:31. It says, then because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he, being Jesus, said to them, the disciples, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest.
I like that one.
And even Jesus was modeling this for us, that, we have to have this balance in what we do, and take that Sabbath, that time for rest, to get away. And so, that itself, like, rest does not just happen. I mean, you can go and go and go and go until you run yourself so much that you just fall over and collapse from exhaustion. and go to the hospital, I mean, like that's an
There's
option,
that option. Yeah,
it's
it's
an
available.
option.
It's available.
Or we have an opportunity to say, you know what, like I'm going to make sure that I rest, that I'm going to do this at this time. Like when we were so busy, I mean, at some point we're like, okay, like we have to carve out space for us, and that is our time no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have time just to enjoy each other. And so that's what we did. And now like that just kind of expands and expands, so but knowing what that priority is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know what your priorities are, sit down and figure this out. Make yourself a list, so you put it somewhere you can see it, so that you remember. And I always tell people, I boil mine down to it's God, to Laura, family, and that looks a little different depending on what your family looks like, and then the church family, work, those things fall under all of those things. So knowing like where, okay, well, you know what, like how much am I going to sacrifice, to Laura for this thing over here?
And I will demand to not be sacrificed.
Right. So not gonna, not if we want to be well, right, in our relationship. So during these, this season especially, though, just thinking about that and making sure, what are my priority relationships? Do I really need to go have a Christmas lunch with this person that I haven't talked to all year? Why now when I'm so busy, right? Maybe they can wait till January when it's dark and gloomy. I have nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But, your grandma, go have lunch with your grandma, like, so if you got, if it's a choice between the two, know what your priority is.
Yes.
So but we so often just miss that, right? Like we feel this obligation, like, oh, I have to go. I haven't seen this person for a year. Like I have to go with them. And yeah, okay, well, great. That can wait, because on the list of priorities, there's probably somebody that ranks higher. Now, I mean, there's other circumstances. I get that. But one thing too, Tom, you had talked about was just like building that team and having this teamwork, and that reminder that we don't have to do everything on our own. If we want to be well in all of these domains, like spiritually, why does God tell us gather together, right? He doesn't say, great, you're saved, now go out and do this on your own. All right. And we need other people. And why do we act as if all of the burden of whatever it is during this holiday season is all on us, right? Like I like decorating outside for Christmas. Laura does not typically help me with that, right? I know. But I also know when I fall off the ladder, if I need to go to the ER, that she's going to be
go.
So
he will not go. Oh, where did you say? Did you say you were going to go? I'm calling.
I mean, if I need,
I'm calling it. He's not going to go.
Well,
like Jesus will heal me.
He just meant you'll help him.
Right. Like if my bone's sticking out, like I mean, I'll go. But so, and I would just say when, because typically I fall off a ladder at least once, but thing. So, but I'll get hurt. Yeah. So not too badly, but we need people, right? And
That's
so
right.
we don't have to do all of this by ourselves. And so, mentally, emotionally, things that always just crack me up, but like they have to research this to know that we need to socialize with people for our mental well-being. Wow, surprise, right? Like we had to pay for research studies on that, but of course we do, because we have a whole generation of kids that think socialization is behind a screen, and so in talking to people that you've never seen face to face or friends, but we have to be in person. We have to have we need the physical contact. We need that face to face in real life conversation to be well. So making sure we attend to those things because we aren't meant to be alone, right? God said that from the beginning. We're meant to be in relationship. He said, made Adam and said, it's not good for him to be alone.
Well, I was just going to say that. I was going to bring up the first 2 chapters in Genesis talks about God creating a helpmate for, Adam, and also the 7th day he rested.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I want to point out a couple of things. And one is that we need to do a regular checkup because we can get busy and not realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us going, like my wife and I, for instance, may be going in 2 different directions in regards to demands on our life. My wife's also a caregiver. So things can move us out to where we're busy doing all these other things, and so I know this can happen with others like yourselves, and so there needs to be a regular checkup. Is this something that's just happened for this weekend? Like for instance, this past weekend was, there's a lot going on. And I even had some folks from the church saying, "Hey, can we get together? We need to talk." And so I said, well, we're going to have to schedule it for this time because I don't have the time, right? Because I'm going from one thing to the next. But if it's something that is continuing, going on, and there's more demand on us, even if it's for a job, my wife and I even talked about, what if the job assignment was to go to the space station for 6 months or a year, or for those who are, Veterans Day's coming up here pretty soon, right? But for those who are in the military who take an assignment and they're gone for 6 months, 2 years, or whatever the case may be from family, that's got to be really difficult. So there's got to be some checkups regularly. But this is what I wanted to get to. And I thought this would be a great discussion. I think we're in a fortunate place right now where we have our church people are excited about putting their hands to the plow in helping build this ministry. So praise the Lord on that note. But there are pastors that are finding themselves with a congregation that doesn't want to do anything. They just want to come in and be preached to, and then go home, pay their dues and go home, so to speak. But then also, let's scale this right down to those, perhaps a widow, right, who doesn't have anybody. How do we navigate that? Because these folks don't have anybody helping, and then they may find themselves running themselves ragged to take care of even the basic day-to-day things. So how can we talk about that for a moment on how to take care of ourselves? Remember the oxygen mask. How can we take care of ourselves so that we can be healthy for others when we don't have others that we can delegate to?
It's a big thing, and you see it a lot. One of the things you're talking about, kind of doing that checkup and kind of checking in with ourselves about the busyness and things like that. Often when I talk to people about this, there are people, they just haven't tapped into them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's because, it's our own selves often getting in the way. Like, nobody can do it as well as I can. Nobody's going to do it how I want it done. So, as a pastor, therapist, just a person in life, parents, I talk to parents, nobody in the house will help me. Well, I don't want to help you either if you yell at me every time I don't do it your way, right? Your kids are not going to be thrilled about trying to do dishes if they get yelled at every time they do them. Mm-hmm. So but learning that is a skill, and just how do we really access what's there. But speaking to the other piece, like sometimes there are sometimes you're a widow, and they're just, you don't have children, or maybe they're just not nearby, or they're whatever reason not helpful. um or you're the person that sees all of these people that have no one, right? One of our dear friends, like, just, she loves on these people, right? Like, just like, that's, it's, she always is reaching out, and but sometimes it's like, I don't have to do everything. Just because I see the need doesn't mean I have to meet the need, but I can connect you with somebody who can, or would love to. And people naturally want to be helpful. So when you go to somebody like, hey, like, I need help with something, would you be able to go help, Widow Johnson over here? And, she just really needs somebody just to go see her once a week, or, just take her out to lunch, or whatever it is. People want to help. But people are afraid often to do things because, like, it's kind of our culture. Like, oh, I don't want to intrude. I don't want to be like in a bother. I don't want to, like, get into people's business if they don't want me there. Like, we have all of these fears and reasons. And so, knowing that is so, it becomes so important that, what, like, let's first of all recognize it's happening. Like, all right, do your checkup here, and, like, let's figure that out. Like, what's making me hesitant to do this, and deal with our own selves, right? I had some, I can't remember what it was, something like that popped up this week, and I was like, why am I hesitating on that? Like, and when I know, like, just do it, right? And so it's a thing that can plague any of us. Like, none of us have it all together where we're like, oh, I'm totally fearless, and, like, I'll go do whatever, whenever. So, but, check in with ourselves, figure out, like, all right, what is it? Or why am I trying to do everything on my own?
Yeah.
What's keeping people from wanting to participate and help? And have I even asked anybody? I don't like asking. That's vulnerability. Like, what? Like, they might think I'm weak, or, like, I can't do that. Right? It's not a thing about that. Like, it's just, I can't do everything.
That's powerful. I'm glad you brought that up. That is another powerful point. Um, it's almost, it wasn't even a biblical principle. You have not because you ask not.
Yeah.
And
Or you
and
ask
and
them,
so,
yes.
or, yeah, ask amiss. But that is part of it. And I just got this mental picture of, you've seen folks who are, you know, they see you come in the room and they're like, you know, because they want you to see them working hard. So you'll say, hey, do you need help? Then for them just to say, hey, can you help me? And so we just need to be clear about that. And then that other point that you touched on, I just had this conversation this past week with another person, and I said, hey, have so and so show you how to do that. He says, well, he won't. What he ends up doing is he just says, well, you're not quite doing it. You're not quite doing it right. Here, let me help. And before too long, the person's doing it, and the other person's standing back, not getting
Doing
anything
it.
done, right? And so there's those different dynamics there that are at play. So yeah, we need to ask people to help us when we need help, and give them space. They may not do it as well as we do, right? But are they getting it done? I learned this lesson from one of the guys that used to ride with me on Mondays when I was working at another church, and he would ride shotgun with me, right? And he would be the guy that would run in and grab things and bring them to the car, and so we'd go to the store, And so our objective is like to grab washcloths, for instance. He'd be reaching in the very, very back of the container to grab a pack of washcloths. And I'm going, it's right there to pick it up and and grab it. You don't have to reach back in the back and dig through the pile of them. Just grab one. Let's go. And then the oddest thing, we'd come out to unload or loaded the car with the supplies. And I remember one day this person was holding a slice of pizza that we just purchased inside. He's holding a slice of pizza with one hand and grabbing with one hand, picking up the other things and putting them in the car, one thing at a time. Like, put the pizza down so you have both hands.
Well, here's the thing is maybe he had multiple siblings and you had to hold that pizza. Because if you didn't.
Absolutely.
It could have been priorities,
the case,
food before work.
That's true. But here's my other point. Here's my point in that. At the end of the day, I ask myself, is the job getting done? And the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And man, all that stress went away off of me. I wasn't irritated and aggravated such as I was because I realized the job's getting done. It's just not getting done in the way I'd like it to get done. And so I was able to back off and allow him to do his thing. And I did mine. And it went well. And I think that there's something to be learned in that is if we want something done, we need to give people space to grow in that area. A great case in point, I've taught my brother-in-law, goes back years and years ago, but I taught him how to keep a beat on the drums. I was a better drummer than him at the time, even though I wasn't a drummer. But by teaching him the practical aspect of drumming, he ended up surpassing me greatly, being a fantastic drummer. But it was me saying, okay, you do it your way until, it becomes something that you can develop. And so we need to give people time. We need to encourage them. We need to hopefully coach them along, but not in a way that says, here, let me do it, but give them an opportunity to do it. And that's how we can find opportunity to delegate. And again, there's people out there that would help if they were just asked because they want to be useful.
Yeah. Well, one of the things when Ben and I first got married, I remember complaining, I have to do everything. Now it's a big joke because we actually split up, like the household chores. And so now it's just a big joke. Whenever one of us is doing our chore, we would be like, oh my gosh, I have to do everything. Nobody does anything, But that's the thing. Why do you want to do everything? Like, what is it? I mean, you're not going to get no martyr badge and it says, I did everything, and what are you doing? You're exhausting yourself. And so I like how you were saying that, Tom, because you're saying that, hey, let's train people. And just because somebody does it different than you, it's getting done, right? It's still clean. I remember I was a waitress back in a few years ago, and 1990s. And I remember this one lady. So I would, have rubber gloves on, and when I had to clean out the urinals, you have a brush and you clean. She would use her hands, bare hands, and she. But guess what? It got done, right? It got done. Ben's joking. But I didn't do it that way. So, but did it change which one would be better, which one's worse? You know what I mean? I think that is something we exhaust ourselves. We spend so much energy on things and even mentally thinking about things. Why did they do that way? Why did she use her hand in a rag to clean out the urine? You get those things stuck in your head, and then you're trying to overperform. And guess what? You don't need to do it.
Mhm. Yeah. I was thinking too, Tom, when you were talking about, like sometimes we don't want to ask people to help us because they'll just take it over, right? And we know that's an issue. Um, Hopefully people will be reflective and know they do that and knock it off, but probably they won't. But so part of this is learning for ourselves. How do I set those boundaries? And just kind of it really just sounds like, you know, I will learn better if I am able to do this myself. Or, just pointing, I don't have to say, knock it off. You're being a jerk. Stop taking it over. Just like, this is how I'm going to learn this best. And you might have to repeat it a lot and learning to be okay with that. But, just because, I don't know, people are people. But, if I really want that information, like I can kind of set those expectations there. Like, this is how I would learn this best. So, just enlist them in it. They probably don't know they're doing it, or they're getting frustrated because it's not going as fast as they would do it, not going as well as they would do it, and they don't know how to deal with that frustration. So, we also have to kind of be patient with them. But, having good, healthy boundaries, period, in this holiday season is such a good idea for all of us. And I'll actually throw this in the chat. Lord sent me a training for you probably
I was
all know.
actually going to talk about it.
Yeah, so you can talk about it. I'll put it in the chat so people will have it.
So yeah, Tom, that might be one that maybe you might be interested in or passing along to your people. Dr. Henry Cloud, we actually had the honor, I'm going to say honor, of sitting in when we were at the American Association of Christian Counseling or Counselors to hear him speak. And he is a very humble person, just godly. It was really just awesome to hear him. But he has 10 laws of boundaries, right, in his book Boundaries, which is pretty popular. It's been around for quite a while. I'm not exactly sure how long. So the law of sowing and reaping, right? Our actions have consequences. Number 2, the law of responsibility. We are responsible to each other, but not for each other, which is kind of what we're talking about. The law of power. We have power over some things. We don't have power over others, right? The law of respect. If we wish others to respect our boundaries, we need to respect theirs. The law of motivation, which is number 5. We must be free to say no before we can wholeheartedly say yes. I'm bad about that. I'm like, yes, I can do that. And then like the night before, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Ben, did they text to say they're not doing it? They're not going. You know how you do that sometimes because well, it's not their fault. It's your own. That boundary is needed for yourself, because if you're tired and if you're really just struggling to have just some downtime, you need to make sure that that you do have the law of motivation, right? The law of evaluation. We need to evaluate the pain our boundaries cause others. The law of proactivity. We take action to solve problems based on our values, wants, and needs. The law of envy. We will never get what we want if we focus outside our boundaries onto what others have. Number 9, the law of activity. We need to take the initiative to setting limits rather than be passive. And then the law of exposure, which is we need to communicate our boundaries to each other. So boundaries is really an important piece of how am I going to care for myself during the holiday season, but yet still be able to be present, and enjoying time with family.
So if you've never read the book or it's been a while, he's got a workshop this week. So I think it's like $79. You can look it up on the link that I put in the chat. But excuse me, even if you've never read the book, and good way to learn it, right? Not all of us are readers, so if you think you'd benefit from that, it's going to be live with him. He does those periodically, so even if you can't do this week, he'll have another one. But you'll enjoy it. So if you're able to, and you're interested in that, I recommend signing up. So, or if not, read the book. Usually you can get it for like $5 for Black Friday. So buy it and read the book. There's a reason it's been around for so long. And
and he just updates it like every so often. And there's also, like, you can do it with your church group too, because it's biblically based. And he has, I believe, Bible studies that go along with it.
So,
yeah, I just noticed it's also on Hoopla.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Hoopla is the library.
Oh.
So it's digital resources available from the library that you can download and listen to for free.
Wasn't there like an 80s song that had the word hoopla in it?
I don't know, but that's the name of the app.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not old enough to remember the 80s, so
yeah,
that's on YouTube. But
I remember it. But it happens to be here in Hoopla, by the way. So boundaries for those who have a digital library card. But I think that as we navigate into Thanksgiving, for instance, there are those that will find themselves trapped, if you will, in the kitchen leading up to an event, say Thanksgiving. And that's an important thing too. What often happens is those who are the cook or whatever, they find themselves doing everything. And this goes back to wanting everything just right? The table set just right, the food to come out at the right temperature at the right time. And, there's all these different plates spinning, so to speak. And how can we do this in a way that, again, there's boundaries drawn, or we're asking and recruiting for help, even though it may not be done quite like we like it, but that when we sit down at the table, we won't feel ungrateful for being unrecognized for all the work that we've been doing to prepare this meal, because chances are we may not even be noticed or recognized, unfortunately, for all the effort that we put into making this holiday special. So it's important that we draw some boundary lines and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is the part I'm taking in this. What part can you play? And allowing others to share in that. And you know what? It may need to be where we have to be communicative. We have to be clear in our in the way we convey what it is that we want done. My wife tonight, she said, grab the lava vase thing. She wasn't even describing it that great, but she said, grab that, that thing that's kind of shaped in a certain way. And I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just tell me where it's at and I'll figure it out. And yeah, right? So I found where it was and I was able to deliver it to her. But a lot of times it's just being clear with your with what you're conveying to the other person, saying, hey, this is what I need done and this is how I need it done. Right? Within reason, because you're giving that person an opportunity to create on their own. But here's the thing. Often we don't see what the other person sees, right? We've never done this before. And another person would just assume that everybody's done it before. And so we need to be very clear on our communication on how to do this. But again, we need to draw boundaries. We need to create space for other people to help, even if it's not quite like the way we like it. But that at the end of the day, we can enjoy our family. We can enjoy one another and not be so stressed out that now we have to go to bed instead of being able to sit at the dinner table and enjoying Thanksgiving with our family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just want to go back to what I was saying about the word hoopla being in a 1980 song. In 1985, Starship wrote a song called We Built This City, and it is knee deep in the hoopla. But
knee deep in the hoopla.
Yeah, it says knee deep in the hoopla, sinking in your fight, too many runaways eating up the night. It was that, it's in that first verse. But I said that to say, I understood what Gina was doing when she couldn't really say the word. Half the time, I don't even know what I'm talking about, or like why I went into the next room. But yeah, I remembered a 1985 song had the word hoopla in it. So I would like Grace. I would like a round of applause. Just so there's a lot of things I'm looking for right now.
But, I don't know. I know Wendy's on watching, and she is not applauding as far as I can tell yet. So
she's going to. I have a feeling. But boundaries are very important, Tom. We really need to, if we're going to be present, if we're going to be wanting to spend time with family, and sometimes family time gets heated. So when we're more present, when we've already, kind of done that taking care of us, we can go into Thursday morning and just be excited, watching the parades, just, having a great time with our families. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Part of it is just knowing, like, you don't have to do everything.
Yeah,
we get these visions, and like it has to be perfect, and perfectionism is an anxiety trait. So we don't have to have all of it. You know what? If you got turkey slices and the Oscar Mayer nasty gross ones, and that's what you've got, then that's what you've got. Like that's more, your family is a priority above the food and the presentation, and making sure you have 20 side dishes. And our kids always want deviled eggs. I don't like them. I'm not going to make them. They stink. Like
grandma makes them.
But my mom does it. So, and some
the
days
kids are eating them like clams or oysters, where they're like,
bring 100, Grandma. But well, at some point, if they continue to want those, they're gonna have to learn to do it. So because I don't want to, first of all, because I don't like them. So but it's just, but it's having that, like, it doesn't have to be this perfect thing. So
no.
It's prioritizing. Priorities are part of our boundaries.
Yeah. I'll I got to be honest with you. I burn water, so I stay out of the kitchen. Right. So I'm not good in the kitchen unless it's something I can pop in the microwave. Right. That's where I'm at. But what else can I do? Can I set up tables? Can I set the table? Can I put out the silverware and things of that nature?
Can I entertain? Right?
Yes, absolutely. I can certainly do that. I don't have any problem with that. But again, it's like some things I don't know what needs to be done. And so it's like, tell me what you need and I'll make that happen. Right. And so I think it's so important that we, again, going back to communication, is that we communicate well what it is that we want and need help with, so that others can understand. I just thought of this. So when I was leaving my dad's church, I was standing on stage at my dad's church, and over on the right-hand side, I saw in the spirit a section of the brick wall missing. And God spoke to me and said, that's what's going to happen when you leave. And I said, well, why would you have me leave if that's what's going to happen? He said, number one, because I told you to. But number two, the people here are going to see that hole and begin to fill it.
Mm.
And so we left, and a few months later, people were calling us and apologizing for not helping us in the past while we were there at the church.
Mm.
And they only had one slice of the pie, one brick from the wall of what we were doing. But the thing was, is they noticed that those things weren't getting done anymore because we weren't there to do them.
Yeah.
And so they begin to see that, right? And a lot of times people around us don't get the opportunity to see what work needs to be done. Another quick scenario. I was working at another church, and the pastor decided to fire the janitor, the guy who was taking care of the building, because in his mind, he wasn't seeing anything getting done. Well, it wasn't until about a month after he was fired that we realized just how much he was actually doing.
Yeah.
Right? There was things that weren't getting done that we just thought got done. I saw this commercial just the other day. He says, honey, this is great. I put my laundry right here,
Yeah.
and somehow it ends up in my room, folded and put away in my drawers. It's amazing. Turns out his wife's been doing all that, and he just didn't know it. But obviously it has to be one or the other. But
Yeah.
my point is that we need to communicate what needs to be done, and do so in a way that people can understand. And hey, not take every brick.
Yeah.
Not do everything. Let something go. How can I do that? I'm our church will suffer because we're not doing A or B or C. Well, that might be the case, but guess what? You're going to be more healthier, and your church is going to be more healthier. But a lot of people wouldn't step in. What's that?
Yeah, I think you're going to say a lot of people step into that role, and
Right.
so yeah,
because they see there's a need. People at my dad's church back in the day, they would say, "Oh, Tom and Gina's got it." Right? And because they said that, yeah, we did it. And we took it because we thought it's got to get done. Right? But not necessarily. Yes, it does. But what if you left it for a couple of weeks and allowed someone else to see that?
right.
And given them a chance to work at it. I think that can really help. But I think a lot of times is people just don't know that there's an opportunity for them to serve, for them to play a part and play a role in an area where they could actually thrive.
Yep.
Right?
And people don't want to intrude, right? If you're doing it, I don't want to take that from you.
Yeah.
When you don't even want to do it in the first place.
Right. And of course, my time is divvied up into all these things, so I'm not doing everything well.
Yep.
Right. So imagine if someone stepped in and said, "Hey, let me take this plate from you. I can do this. I can't do none of that, but I can do this. Let me do this for you." It's like, by all means, but we need to give people an opportunity to do that. And I think even in our own home, with our own families, if we have kids, there needs to be some things that we delegate to them. And yes, they might not do it the way we like, and sometimes they might do it with an attitude. But again, even at home, find out what they're passionate about, what they like to do. How can they play a role in bringing things to fruition? How can they play a role in that? And maybe there's a part they could do.
I'm sorry. I just want to say this one thing. So our boys who were basically handicapped and could not wash dishes or do any of the chores here are both actively involved in their homes right now. Cleaning, cooking, washing dishes. Philip told me, and I'm going to call him out. I'm going to call him out right now. He says, "Mom," he says, "you don't want me washing dishes, remember?" Because he would just I don't even think he washed them. He just took them from the sink and just put them in the drainer. He's like, remember, but yet it's not just him. I mean, obviously his fiance is doing stuff too, but who's doing stuff, right?
Mhm.
So
That's right.
if you don't allow them the chance to make a mistake too, how are they supposed to learn?
Yes, absolutely. So we've got to give people space
Yep.
to grow and
Mhm.
encourage them, not tell them how they did it wrong, but say, hey, let's try doing it this way.
Yeah.
Right. Then saying, no, you're not doing it right. Because they're like, okay, I'll take my hands off of
Yeah.
it.
And we'll feel better for having done so.
Yeah.
Right. Because we'll have the wellness. I know our time's up, but
Yeah.
we'll be talking about holidays because it's just that season anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'm that person. I already have my Christmas mug out. Right? You can see it. It's kind of, but I don't even know which way to go. I'm being to Laura today with that, but so I'll let you wrap it up, Tom. But I don't know if anybody else has anything else they wanted to add.
No.
Well, I'll wrap up with this. There's 3 moments with my kids. My oldest son got mad, and so he punched a hole in the wall. And so I said, okay, you're going to fix it. Well, guess what? That meant that I had to stand there and say, okay, this is how you do this, and this is how you do that. And this is, nope, you got to still keep sanding. Oh, Dad, this is, hey, you got to do this because, so I had to stay there with him. That was painful for me to stay there with him to make sure he did it right. My middle son decided it'd be fun to slide down the handrail into the basement and busted the handrail off the wall. Guess what? I had him do it, but I had to be there to make sure he learned the lesson of how to put that back up, that I wasn't going to do that for him, that he needed to do it. And then last was my daughter. I remember she was writing on the wall. And so I told her, I said, you need to clean this off. And she's over there, I don't know, she was 7 years old or whatever. She's crying, Dad, my arm hurts. Nope, just keep washing that off, right? And a funny story with her, just a couple of years later, she came to me. She goes, Dad, I've got something to tell you. I said, what is it? She goes, I wrote on the wall by accident. And so I said, show me. And so I went into the room with her, and she was writing on her calendar on the wall, and it slipped off, and there was a dot, a dot on the wall. And I said, that's okay, just because you told me. Thank you. But my point is that I showed them how to do this, and it took my time, right? But I thought it was so much more important, and they would understand next time not to do that, because this is the result. You'll have to fix it, right? And it was more so a life lesson, and so so that's something that just came up. That was a bonus and no extra charge on that. But we're going to wrap up here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Again, please share this with others. And we'd love to hear your comments, your feedback on this, maybe suggestions for future shows. So please, we'd love to hear from you. So how can people get in touch with you, Ben and Talora?
So just go to our website, quiescounseling.com, QUIES counseling.com. You can message us from there. You can connect to Facebook, our email, phone, everything's on there. Fax if you really like to fax. So
faxing. Hey,
we got a pager. No, I'm just kidding.
A pager. Okay. That's great. So you can get in touch with me at Pastor Tom Ray at gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you as well. And if we can pray for you, if you have some prayer concerns, prayer needs, we'd love to hear from you about those as well. We do this as it's not a full-blown ministry as of sorts, but it is to bring health and wholeness to each and every person that's watching. And we want you to know we're all people of faith. We love Jesus, and we serve him. He's number one in our lives.
Right.
And so this is not your typical Sunday service and preaching and praying and prophesying and things of that nature, but it is bringing health and wholeness to the individual. So if you found that you've received help from this, we'd like to hear from you on that as well. But thank you for tuning in today.